This is Colin Baker speaking, the Sixth Doctor, but you are the lucky ones because you are travelling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed episode number 243. And I also find when facing a cliffhanger, cliches are best. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
That was it. I'm Glenn.
No, we had the same idea.
We had the same idea, but I couldn't remember what it was. That was it.
How are you guys?
Very good. Back's about 90% better. Still having some sciatica pain, but I'm getting around now. So.
Yeah, you are looking quite spry.
Much better this week. Much better. I think
even better from Friday.
I think the steroids helped the most. I think that's knocked down the inflammation. And then I didn't take any painkillers over the weekend. So
wow, that's really good.
There was a snail I saw crawling up the sidewalk out front. You beat him.
I beat it this week. Not last week, but this week. No, I think the worst thing I had is I tempted fate and I mowed the lawn yesterday because our backyard was just massive. And Caitlin's at a point where she does it now, but it was so tall. So I got out there and I raised the mower up and I went across it once, but by the time I'd got most of it swiped over, I knew I was going to have to do it twice because I knew I had to do it high and then do it low to knock down some of the. By the time that I got it through it, my sciatica pain was hurting so bad. So I went in and got Caitlin and I said, I'm going to lower this mower. This is only going to take you like 10 minutes. Can you do it? And she said, sure. So she finished it up for me.
That's good. Sarah's doing a lot better.
Good.
She went to the doctor on Wednesday, and they put her on complete brain rest. So what complete brain rest is, in today's modern age, no TV, no computers, no cell phones, no tablets, no screens of any kind. Just kind of sit in a dark room and close your eyes.
You can use a cell phone for what it was intended to originally be used as, and that's stock on it.
And really not much of that because you don't want to think too hard.
So no books, no puzzles.
Not really any books, any puzzles.
Stimuli.
Nothing stimulating, nothing to make her think too hard. Which she's done a really good job. Today, she has been the most ornery about trying to get on her phone. So obviously she's feeling better.
That's good.
We've been filling the time with me reading to her. I think it was... We started with a book that I started reading to her back when we were living with Sean, Shatner's World. And then I was halfway through The Martian, which she had already read. And so we finished The Martian this week, which, go and read this book. It is phenomenal. It is one of the best science fiction books I've read in a really long time. Definitely before you go see the movie. I'm not entirely sure how some of it's going to translate, but I can't wait to see it. It looks like it's going to be really good. And
the movie looks good.
If it lives up to the book at any form, it's going to be phenomenal. The book is so well written. It's amazing. And the guy who wrote it's a huge Doctor Who fan.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if you saw the picture. The version of the book we got from the library had the questions and answers in the back of it with the author. And one of the questions was, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, I saw your post.
And his answer was Doctor Who. And then there was an essay following saying he was a huge nerd and he loved Doctor Who and had seen every single episode, classic and new, that existed.
Wow.
So, yeah, we can relate to him. He's our people. And then we started with where I left off on the Harry Potter series because she read them all. Goblet of Fire. And we're about 90 pages into that now. And we just started that today.
You haven't made a dent in that then.
Better dent than I expected to make in a day.
90 pages in Goblet of Fire is kind of like a thimble full of water in the ocean.
Well, the 700 and, something pages.
You're almost
it's
a,
not
you're
in that
almost
stack
a
because
seven.
It's in the other room.
Yeah, it's a big book.
I'm enjoying it. We're just now at the Wizarding or the Quidditch World Cup, and they're just actually finally going to start playing. So that kind of gives you an idea of where I'm at in the book. Did you do anything else fun?
I watched something, but I can't remember what it was, so it must not have been that compelling.
How was your week, Sean?
Well, my week was pretty good. We got a couple more movies knocked out. We watched, I don't know why we've kind of been on this older movie kick. we watched Police Academy, which it occurred to me I've never seen all of. I've seen or parts of it. I'd seen, I remembered bits and pieces of it, but then there were other parts. It's like, nope. This was probably about the time that my grandmother caught me watching it and shooed me out of the room.
That's a classic film.
It was. It was still funny to all these,
I think the franchise went downhill, but that one was really good.
The first one's, really.
I know I've seen 4, which as a kid I thoroughly enjoyed because it was one of those HBO
That's when they
staples.
finally got to PG-13. So
Yeah.
they were releasing them with the lower rating.
And I know I've seen 5 on HBO about a zillion times, but I don't really remember.
How many are there? Are there 5 or are there more?
I think there's
8, I believe.
Oh, jeez.
The last one's not even numbered. It's just Police Academy something. It's got just a name without the number on it.
And then in preparation for a con this weekend, that Lance Henriksen, or Heinrichsen, depending on your personal poison.
Depending on where you live.
Depending on where you live, was going to be at. We, of course, I think I told the story last week that we were going to watch No Escape, and the Laserdisc player was kaput. So we couldn't do that one, but I made Mel. She had never seen The Quick and the Dead. So we watched that one.
I remember what I watched.
Yeah, I figured if I talked long enough, you'd remember.
It was last night.
And that's just such a fun, dumb movie. I love The
It's been
Quick
a
and the
really
Dead.
long time since I've
I
seen
haven't
that one.
watched it since it came out on video, and even sitting there watching, I was like, why don't I watch this one more often? This is thoroughly enjoyable. This is just silly. I love it. And then Saturday night, I got home, and we had. What do you want to do? I was like, I think I got a movie in me. Are you okay with that? And she kind of rolled her eyes like, oh, it's late, but all right. Because it's like 1 a.m. And she said, what do you watch? And I was like, well, we talked about this, and we were going to do maybe Bad Boys 2 or one of these other ones. We're just trying to knock some of these other ones out. And I said, I own Hard Target, but I've never seen it. And I know Lance is the bad guy in that, so maybe we could go and watch that one since we're going to go see him tomorrow. She says, all right, we can do that one. You ever seen Hard Target?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
This is the greatest movie in the history of ever.
And Glenn is rolling his eyes.
Hey, let me qualify this statement. It's dumb. It's dumb 90s action dumb. Guns never run out of bullets. Excessive amounts of... Really? I mean, it literally... I laughed. We laughed so hard through this thing. And I looked at him and I was like, this is really reaching... Fast and Furious 6 and 7 levels of, ridiculous. Are you kidding me at this point? And I had such a good time with it. I didn't care.
Did they navigate with the tank at all?
They did not. See, that's another great almost moment that could have been in this movie. It's not, but I feel like it could have been. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme, so there were many roundhouse kicks to the back of the head. And then Lance Henriksen he's got such fantastically strange dialogue. Everything he uttered in this movie was like, what? And it was awesome. And it's John Woo. So, there were many slow motion birds. And we just had a great time with it. And Mel thought for sure she was going to pass out and just was riveted and laughing right along. Maybe it was because we were up late. Maybe it was the riding that emotional high if we're going to go see this guy tomorrow. But yeah, it just had a play. Arnold Vosloo's in it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's still creepy. He's not changed much either. I mean, I love the guy, but he's like, you're kind of the bad guy in everything, dude. And you're kind of creepy at it.
Yeah.
But, just had a lot of fun with that one. So
how was the convention?
The convention was pretty good. I think we were only there for maybe about 2 hours, and an hour of that was Henriksen's panel. Because there's just not much to, and did our thing. We met Tony Todd, who was Candyman.
Among other things.
Among other things. He's been Worf's brother is where I know him from Star Trek Next Generation. But Mel knows him from Candyman, so we got a Candyman photo. And then we met up with Kirk, which was really nice. He came down, and so we kind of palled around.
Was that a coincidence, or you guys planned that?
He had sent me a message earlier in the day asking if we were coming down. I said, yeah, we're gonna go down Sunday, but we're not going to go down until probably, noon or 1. He says, okay, well, I might see you there. And then it kind of became obvious that, he was kind of waiting around on us, I think. We got there, and he was like, I'm glad I ran into you, because I was just about done. But, so big props and thank you to Kirk for all of the wonderful photos that, if you see the photos on Facebook and I'm in them, it means Kirk took that one. So I appreciate that. I can't believe he said something after the fact. It was like, I can't believe we didn't think to get a photo together. And it was like, duh. What was I thinking? Why didn't we take a picture together? And then I saw Chris from the Kansas City Time Art Society was there. So yeah, like I said, we just had a lot of fun. But there wasn't much as far as the dealer's room and all that kind of stuff. It was like, there's this. Eric Roberts was there. Walked right past him.
I was tempted to go just to get an Eric Roberts, just so I could have a Eric Roberts master.
You mean nemesis of the show, Eric Roberts?
I like it. We shall adopt. So say we all.
So say we all.
From this day forward, nemesis of the show, Eric Roberts. I didn't feel the need to stop and talk to him. Maybe I'm petty. I don't know.
A friend of mine I saw when he was there Friday, met him, and said, I really liked you in Doctor Who the movie. And Eric Roberts just kind of smiled and nodded. That was all he got out of him.
I'm not going to get back in there. We're not going to whip that dead horse any longer. We're just going to let it rot. But, so we went to Lance's panel, and he just kind of came up, and there was no moderator. It was just him, and he talked for a little bit and answered questions, and then it was over. He's like, okay. And so we kind of got there, and Kirk looked at us and says, do you think, maybe we could go get in line at his table? And then he kind of had his bag and, his shades on. And it was just this, you got the sense that, no, he's leaving. He's done. He's going right from here to the airport. So we, stood around with a bunch of people. And he was very gracious and very friendly and took photos with people and still was signing things. And somebody tried to give him a little plush alien, and he laughed and he says, I appreciate the offer so much. May I sign it for you and let you keep it? Because I don't have anything from my movies. I don't keep anything. Quite honestly, I don't want anything. He says it's enough of a burden to try and get the lines out of my head after I do one.
That's funny.
So
to unremember them.
To unremember them.
Okay.
So, so we got his autograph and got a couple pictures with him, and he was just, I've got one with him, and he's standing there like this, and he goes, "Oh crap!" and he takes his shades off for another. He's just cool, but so much of it is I could sit and listen to him read the phone book. He's got one of those voices that's beyond awesome. So, and then we went and tried to hit Brits on the way home, and of course they close at 5 on Sundays, which we didn't realize. We stopped for lunch on the way, which is what backed us up. We had a Monte Cristo. Well, I had a Monte Cristo. Mel had some fish thing, but I had a Monte Cristo over at Cheddar's. So, but best sandwich ever. You remember the Monte Cristo?
No, I've never had a Monte Cristo.
Did you ever go to Bennigan's?
Mm-mm. Well, I went to Bennigan's, but I never had a Monte Cristo.
Okay, you know what it is. So.
Not any. Okay. Not
the Monte Cristo is. I thought I'd mentioned it. It's a club sandwich. It's got like turkey and melted cheese and ham and all kinds of stuff on it. But then it's battered like a funnel cake and fried, and then covered in powdered sugar and served with a little raspberry. Oh, man.
I can hear your arteries.
Oh, yeah. I expect to be dead tomorrow, but it was worth it every step.
Is it fried with lettuce on it, or is it no lettuce? No lettuce and tomato on the sandwich?
No, nothing on the inside, just the meat and the cheese.
Because most clubs have the lettuce and the tomato and everything on the inside.
Yeah, that's true, but yeah.
I just wanted to clarify. So I don't know if I like the powdered sugar on top.
I don't know.
It does have powdered sugar.
It does have powdered sugar. Yeah, it's a sweet raspberry too, so it's kind of a sweet tasting sandwich.
That's wrong.
There's something about it. Because when I first heard about it, I went, "You deep fried a sandwich? What's wrong with you?"
No, I can understand deep frying a sandwich. I don't know if I understand deep frying a sandwich in a sweet batter.
Yeah, it works.
Make it a salty batter.
My lunch meats and cheeses do not belong in a Danish.
No, I disagree.
I like my lunch meats hot. If that gets it done, that gets it done.
But yeah, I wept when Bennigan's went away, because it wasn't just our Bennigan's, it was all the Bennigan's.
Yeah.
All the Hushnik everywhere. They all went. They were gone. And apparently Cheddar's bought the recipe and moved it over to their restaurant. Said, we'll save that.
Oh.
So you can still...
It's good for those people that like it. It's good that
I didn't know that it was a restaurant-specific.
Yeah. I assume it was. I've only ever had them at Bennigan's prior to that. So anyway, yeah. So but no Brits on the way home. And then we came over and saw you guys.
Yeah. About an awesome minion.
I saw Divergent. We watched it last night. Or not Divergent, Insurgent.
Insurgent.
Oh,
One
how
in
was
the
the
Divergent
sequel?
series. I quite enjoyed it. It stays pretty true to the book. It kind of clips the first part of the book and the last part of the book, but the middle piece is all there, and it takes out a lot of the unnecessary stuff. I thought, in fact, the way that they end the movie, I thought they did better than they did in the book, and I quite enjoyed Insurgent much better than the book Divergent. And I think that even though it's gotten lesser reviews than Divergent, I think I even enjoyed Insurgent just a little more than Divergent. So it takes the story in the direction it needs to go, and the movie actually clarified something that was a bit muddled in the book. I felt was muddled in the book, but it's quite enjoyable. We really enjoyed it. Holly and Caitlin and I watched it because we're doing that series together. So
Now you're ready for Are they breaking the final film into 2?
I meant to look that up because Holly asked about it, and I seem to remember that they weren't with the Divergent series.
Whoa.
But that don't hold me to that, because as soon as I
wonder if
say
they're
it's
gonna
only
do
one
a-
film, it'll be 2 films. So
Say it isn't so, Joe.
I wonder if they'll do a number 4 film or whatever. Because there was that anthology of short stories about that guy that came out post
4.
the trilogy.
4?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I don't wonder if they do try to milk this series even
They
more.
might. That's very Hollywood, but
Yeah. We're getting the Fantastic Beasts and where to find them.
yeah, true.
Not that I'm complaining.
No, I'm excited
looking
about
forward
that.
to
So
it.
you know, I'm a Harry
But
Potter.
of all the of all those books to turn post Harry Potter into a movie, that's not one I expected.
Well, they're taking whatever literary work that's available to do it. So.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers wants to hold on to that licensing
yeah.
franchise.
So I've been playing Lego Jurassic World, and it dawned on me the other night. The Velociraptors are about a little bigger than the minifigs, not much, and they don't look like they're built. They're molded pieces of Lego.
We already established that last week that they do that with character size.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
because the Raptors
I know you're
are-
trying to defend the Daleks.
Yeah.
I think it's a moot point.
It is, because nothing I'm going to say is going to change it. But I feel like I have more evidence now with the Jurassic Park dinosaurs.
Well, you'd sold me when you were talking about the Hulk and a thing, and
and those are a little bigger,
or not
but
Fantastic Four, in Marvel. So
yeah. Just something about the size of the dinosaurs compared to the minifigs in the game were so comparable.
I think that
It made me think of it more so.
the point that I still dwell on is the fact that when you've got a
Square
character,
edge.
well, when you've got a character that you can build from the ground up, I mean, they're essentially robot casings. It makes more sense to make it a buildable design rather than a molded design. So, but you had pointed out the C-3PO
Yeah.
issue, and I think I kind of,
Or the R2 issue.
or that's what I meant,
Yeah.
R2 issue, and I think I'd kind of,
I don't know. I just the thought had.
I
occurred to me
bent
while
at
playing
that
it.
point.
It's a really enjoyable game.
Did you guys have this discussion at work?
No,
no, it was on the show a few weeks ago. We were talking about
it
Lego Dimensions.
wasn't the dinosaur stuff, but
Yeah.
the other.
Oh, it was my complaint about why the Daleks, when we were talking about Doctor Who, why
Yeah,
the Daleks didn't
yeah.
quite
It was
look
Keith's
like...
complaint originally, yes, but you
I
jumped on board of it.
Yeah, I think
Well,
he
'cause I
mentioned
agree
it
with
first
him.
on the podcast. I mentioned it first.
Maybe
off,
you did
off
because
mic.
we talked about it off mic.
See, that's why I was confused. Because if you guys have these discussions at work, I totally want to come work with you.
Yeah,
Sometimes we do.
sometimes we do. Yeah.
No.
In between writing stories, sometimes we get a chance to chat.
There's no news.
I didn't know how I would feel about playing as dinosaurs, but it's really enjoyable.
The thing about Keith and I at work is he's so focused on the 5 when I have a little bit of downtime while I'm kind of stacking and
Yeah.
getting into the flow of things. And then once he's done with his show and kind of in the point where he's in kind of maintenance at that point, that's when I'm fully involved in my show. And so, and then he does the 9 and he's fully involved in that when I'm back bridging. So there's this whole crossover. We have these little,
focus- you
we have
have
these
more to
tiny
do.
little windows
Yeah.
in between those moments, and that's about it.
You tend to have more to focus on the 10 than I do the 9 too. So
I'm filling about twice as much show.
yeah, because my show's much shorter. You guys didn't do anything else fun this week?
You also
think
get
so.
to put up videos of bears playing in swimming pools.
I used to be able to. Well, I did that for the 5, but
And then you have to put up the tragic fire. And
I don't put any videos up anymore. Thankfully, I don't have to do that anymore.
well, shall we move on to news? Some not so good news for Doctor Who as far as Hugos. The Hugos were very recently, and Listen, lost to Orphan Black.
I'm sorry. The Hugos were very recently.
They were last night.
Okay, I didn't know when they were.
Yeah, last night.
I just know.
Sorry.
I just saw this today.
I'm sorry. I made the news list, I think, today, and I probably should be leading the charge on this.
I mean, I
didn't know what it was.
It's all relative, depending on when our listeners are listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Relatively recently.
The 22nd, I believe, is when they were handed out. Last Saturday, the 22nd. Today's the 23rd, right? Well, now it's the 24th, but Sunday was the 23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, they handed out the Hugos last night, and there's a huge kerfuffle over the Hugos, and I'm not going to go into it because it's very convoluted, and apparently it's been going on for the last several years, but anyway, it seems to be, despite the kerfuffle, and if you follow the Hugos, you know what it is, but despite the kerfuffle, there is, luckily, very little ballot padding in the entertainment categories, such
good.
as the films and the TV shows. So it seems like this was one particular category that wasn't tainted by some of the darkness that's been hanging over the Hugos over the few years. And so I'm
Because
actually
it seems
very
like, at least on
encouraged.
the book end, it's kind of
The book end is where it's very...
everybody
yeah.
picks their favorite, and
Well,
they'll get together and talk about it ahead of time.
The problem, the cliff notes of it is that there was a group of people, internet people, trolls, you can call them, years ago, like several years back, that decided that only intellectual, deep, meaningful stuff was getting picked and the fun, actiony stuff wasn't. And so they decided, because it's very easy to nominate films for Hugos, because all you have to do is you have to sign up for the World Science Fiction Organization or something like that in order to be a contributing member. Anyway, some guys have started Twitter and Facebook sites that basically kind of drive nominations, and so they're padding the ballot box. Anyway, that's the short version of it. IO9 had a very good article on it today. In fact, they had a link to a primer and a lot of great information if you're interested. But IO9 did point out that the categories that don't seem to be affected by those are the media, which is fortunate. Unfortunately, the category of podcast, from the dynamic that this is Doctor Who related, the category of podcast is also affected by this ballot padding, and Verity probably, had this not occurred, Verity probably would have made the nomination list, but they or possibly even higher in the votes, but they got pushed off the nomination list, unfortunately.
That's too bad.
They completely deserve a nomination.
Oh, yeah.
It's a phenomenal podcast. So.
You know who won?
I can't remember. I looked at the category list today, and I can't remember who it was. I sure don't.
Oh, well.
But yeah, so there's that. So, and I think I wanted to point out that Orphan Black's doing very well. There's a lot of people that like Orphan Black,
It's a
and while
really
as
good
a
series.
Doctor Who fan, I'm saddened that did not win in that category. It looks like it garnered the second amount of votes, and Orphan Black apparently is very good. And it even encourages me to go on and try to get. What is it? 3? It's in the third season.
Yeah, it's in the third season.
Yeah, get some Orphan Black in.
It's
Once
one
I
of
get
those
the
things.
DVD back, season 1 DVD back, you're welcome to borrow it.
It's one of those things that, quite realistically, if Doctor Who's going to lose to something,
Lose to something that's
or
quality.
Orphan Black is
Because it's also been so good for so long and not been recognized, and now finally in its third season, it's getting the recognition, finally getting an Emmy nomination, etc. But the other shows it's up against were also pretty high standard in my opinion. Game of Thrones, The Mountain and the Viper episode, that was an impressive episode, and then the Flash pilot too.
Yep.
Which all of these episodes are some solid television. I don't remember which Grimm episode this is, but it's Grimm, so it's kind of nice that it's nominated.
Moving on, this is just a note, because we have not reviewed this yet, but this is something that we plan to do, I believe, in the future. But today, well, now it's the 24th, but at typing the news up, today, August 23rd, is the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who and the Daleks, which is the Peter Cushing film. And that's alternate universe Doctor Who, but that's something that we'll cover at one
Maybe
point.
we can get it on
I thought
for
it was,
the 51st anniversary.
Yeah, I thought it was certainly Martha would mention, and honestly, when I saw this, I thought, oh, well, this might have played in better to something to review. Had this been on our radar, but this was kind of off of everybody's radar.
Well, the problem is it's so, at least here in the States, it's difficult to come by legitimate copies of...
Well, we don't We do that for Friday Night Who. We try.
Right, no, but
we
yeah,
try our hardest, but I don't think we ever.
When you got those Blu-rays, didn't
Yeah,
you,
I got the
on
Blu-rays
Amazon?
from Amazon, but
And they were
aren't those-
legit.
DVDs.
Oh, DVDs, yeah.
But aren't those a different region? Or did you?
No,
have to,
they're
did you have to
region.
do
They're
something?
region 1. It's a deal that Amazon actually has where they are allowed to produce the film as a collection with the blessing of who produced those. CBS Fox, I think, in the United States has the rights. Anyway, they have the blessing to produce and sell that, but it's on a order by order basis. So that's how I managed to get copies of them. But I think you can still do that on Amazon. That was 2 or 3 years ago. I think that I bought mine.
Yeah.
But
The quality is.
so, but we have never hogtied ourselves to
Oh, no,
reviewing anything on this show that's not widely available.
No.
I think the only thing we focus on is Doctor Who. So I think that's
In,
that would be an errant statement to say that
No. I didn't mean it necessarily.
we've
to that
picked up
extent.
VHS copies of stuff and reviewed
Right. Yes. No.
Nice words.
In my head canon, I tend, my head scheduler, I guess I'll say that, I tend to try and do things to make it easier for people to follow along if they want, as opposed to
So they
just
can send in feedback.
so they can send in feedback and you know, be more of a communal part of the show.
Stop doing that.
But there's, you're correct. There's
You're
absolutely,
pigeonholing us.
there's absolutely nothing to hold us to.
Yeah.
Well, the 50th anniversary of Daleks' Invasion of Earth, 2150 AD, will be
2 years from now, right?
August of next year.
Oh, it's next year. So they came
66.
They came simultaneously. Oh,
So maybe we can get both of those in next year.
there we go.
Well, there
look
you
forward
go.
to that.
50th.
We'll put it on the schedule now.
Well, everybody go get your copies from Amazon. And have you watched them yet? Is the
I've
quality
seen
pretty
them.
decent?
I've seen
I know
them
you've
several
seen them
times.
before.
Well, and that's the thing is, they've been widely available on VHS for years.
Yeah.
I mean,
used
they're
to
obviously
own
Well,
them.
and the
can't buy them now.
library, our library has a couple copies.
Yeah,
of at
and
least Doctor
I've
Who
checked them out
and
the
Daleks.
library. I checked them out the same time at the library that I checked out Dalek Mania, which was a documentary that was done 10 years ago, 6 years ago, somewhere in that era of about the story. And I think Dalek Mania is available.
It used to be on Netflix.
I think it's even available now, free to download.
Oh,
A digital copy somewhere. I saw it, and it was region free, dollar free. You could
Nice.
just download it and watch it. So, anyway, so I thought it was worth mentioning that being
yeah.
the 50th anniversary, and
I look forward to seeing it.
it has connection
putting it
to.
off.
So,
Well, yeah, Bernard Cribbins.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's more so than that, but it's a Terry Nation script. But the next bit of news was, if anybody didn't notice, Series 9 is ramping up. Obviously, we're about a month away, a little less than a month away, right? Yeah.
Yeah, less than
And
a month.
so the BBC did put out some new Series 9 images that were released, and they're not. I didn't think they were anything too splendid, except for they had some very interesting costuming that I don't think we've seen the 12th Doctor in before.
I like his velvet coat.
That velvet suede coat. Kind of a red velvet, and that was kind of cool.
I don't like the hoodie.
Yeah, you said that in something.
I posted it on our
that what
Facebook
it was?
page. Yeah, and
It's man.
I mean,
it's just casual outfit in my.
I
opinion.
like it because I don't think we've had enough casual. I mean, I think the most casual we had was, besides trainers, we've had Chris Eccleston obviously wore
with the t-shirt,
leather
the
jacket
V-neck
with the
t-shirt,
jumper, yeah.
and
So,
which I didn't like that either when it first came on.
I think
So-
what I liked, yeah,
It doesn't feel like
it didn't
a
feel
costume.
very Doctor Who at first.
Well, it's not even that it doesn't feel. I mean, Matt Smith talked a little bit about his costuming when he said, that they had him in this. They wanted to put him in some sort of pirate thing with a big, flowing shirt, and he just said it felt like somebody dressing the Doctor versus what the Doctor would wear. And I've kind of thought about that a lot since then. It's like, I'm a t-shirt and jeans guy. That's what I get up and or shorts even to be wearing Kansas. So I can't necessarily fault the Doctor for thinking V-neck shirt, leather jacket. That's what I'm going with today. I can't fault him for that. But at the same time, it just seems not his style.
I think it's very in character with Peter Capaldi, the style that he's portraying the Doctor as. I think
And
it's
I agree
very
with
Well,
that.
and the fact that it's kind of been a progression throughout the season. He started with the nice lines and the white shirt, and then slowly worked his way to the hoodie.
Well-
It's kind of been a gradual thing of he's become a little more lax and a bit more not lazy, not sloppy, but kind of just more. I don't really care anymore.
Well, yes and no, because I think when you look at Capaldi's Doctor, he's got different. He's got certainly, it feels like the most outfits of any doctor that we've had on TV.
Most variations.
With variations.
Probably close second to Pertwee.
But they've all been, like Pertwee's, they've kind of all been of a upper tier. You know what I mean? Like, he could still go out to eat at a really swanky restaurant in whatever he was wearing. The sparkly hoodie, I look at it and I go, who dressed you today? Because, and what's really strange
is
it's laundry day.
Well, it is.
There's the one he wore at Christmas had sparkles on. And
It's laundry
it's
day.
laundry day. It must be. That's the only thing I can come up with. But what's really strange to me is that when you look at all the stuff, every interview I've ever seen him in, every photo that's been snapped of him, whether he's been as the Doctor or just, hey, here's Peter Capaldi doing something out and about on the streets of London, he's always dressed impeccably. And I kind of get this.
You didn't see the Comic-Con panel then, apparently.
No, I didn't see that.
It was very T-shirt and hoodie.
But he strikes me as kind of, I don't know, maybe a bit of a clothes horse, that he's got a really big closet at home
I
that
think
he
what
likes
it
to pull
does
from different
is,
styles.
I think it's a bit meta because, I mean, Peter Capaldi started as a punk band, in a punk band. I mean, it's very much his style. And I think Peter Capaldi has taken on several images through media through the years. And I think this is one way to incorporate that into his Doctor as well. I think that's what I'm impressed most about it. What I like the most about it is it gives a different flavor of the Doctor each show, each week.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's one of the things that I like about Pertwee's Doctor, is that while he still quite frequently wore the frilly shirts and the velvet jackets, there was a color change, there was a style change, there was a lining change, there was something quite different frequently with his outfit. And I like the fact that, hey, the Doctor does change clothes every day. Yeah. Well, as opposed to, we got Tom Baker's varied a little bit in form as far as the bohemian look, and then kind of landed on the maroon that he just always wore. Yeah. And then we went through Peter Davison, who wore the same thing practically all the time. We went through Colin Baker, who we had to have that. I mean, we had some variation on the undergarment, or the undergarments, the clothes under the coat, but but we always had the jacket. And then,
and even going back to like Hartnell and Pertwee, their costumes were pretty consistent most of the time from the episodes I've seen.
Hartnell, yeah, I'm sorry, you said Hartnell, and I had Pertwee in my head.
I said Pertwee. Hartnell and Trout.
Hartnell,
yeah. I knew where you were going.
Or that's what I meant. You said Pertwee, and I had Trout in my head. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I think that's more realistic to me that somebody would change clothes.
And I'm not a big fan of the sparkly hoodie, but I do kind of like the open hoodie with the white T-shirt image that they did. I don't know why, but that just feels like a very Doctor outfit.
Still. I don't know. I guess it's just
even though it's still the hoodie there, but I just like the way it's presented.
I'm just going to chalk it up to the Ziggy Stardust phase of his. Of this particular regeneration that he's got,
And I think the other pictures aren't as telling, but the one that kind of struck me, and I don't know why, is there's a picture of Kate Stewart, and she looks very tired in this picture, like worn, like she's just weary. That's the word. And it's just I don't know. There's something about it. I mean, she's still a striking woman, but she looks like she's been through a lot. I wonder if that'll be a
plot element.
Yeah, plot element of.
Well, she's also dressed very not.
Well, she's very casual.
Casual, yeah. Because we've always seen Kate in
button down with a
work attire. She looks very business and not here. This looks like
no pantsuit this time.
Yeah.
So there's those. And then I don't know if Keith had caught this, but speaking of series,
I had not seen
9. I checked the other day, and Doctor Who cinema event, Dark Water and Death in Heaven 3D, has been added to our Regal Cinema Theater finally. So you can buy tickets in Topeka. So that being said, if you checked the site weeks ago to see if it was playing at a theater near you and it wasn't, I suggest rechecking to make sure, because they apparently are adding shows, and I had seen that they are actually airing in Russia now, which was one of the countries that wasn't getting it, is now getting it. So for our Russian listeners, you have some opportunities now to see it in your region as well.
Yay!
I might actually get to go see it. I just had a realization. Sorry.
Well, because they have 2 showings each day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be able to see it after work.
after I get back up.
Oh, wait a minute. That's right, because you'll be on day.
I'm going to be on.
That's right.
I'm going to be on morning shift that time. So,
And then, last but not least, this feels weird doing all the news, Keith.
it's kind of nice. It's like the break of the boys.
There is an update. The Nooks Lethbridge Stewart book by Candy Jar Publishing that we have been reviewing. We've reviewed the first one, which was Forgotten Son, which, again, we quite enjoyed. The next book, The Schizoid Earth, has been delayed for release until September 25th. Ooh. And, the website, we can't be too selfish here because the website did say Candy Jar Books had this up. And in fact, thanks to Andy Frankham Allen for giving us heads up on this on Facebook. It said, unforeseen circumstances have led to the delay in publishing the second in the series, The Schizoid Earth, by author David A. McEntee. He explained, I'm sorry, nobody's had a chance to read the book yet. I had hoped to be able to finish it earlier than originally planned so that it could be brought forward somewhat. A family bereavement has negated that hope. My mother-in-law died a few weeks ago, leading to all the irritating practical bureaucracy interruptions you might imagine. The book, however, is nearly finished and will be coming very soon. And then Haley Cox, the publishing coordinator at Candy Jar Books, followed that up by saying, we are determined not to let this setback affect the rest of the year's releases, and we are committed to getting 4 titles out by the end of 2015, as originally intended. So,
well, that's good.
So they are working on it, and they're working through what is a tragic situation for the author, but very grateful for his humble explanation and letting us know, where they are. So I think that speaks mounds to the author and Candy Jar Books, who are very forthcoming with, hey, we've experienced a situation here, and they've been very forthwith with what happened and what the circumstances are. So we certainly appreciate that.
And certainly our condolences go out to
absolutely
to the author and his
Very
family.
sorry to hear that.
All right, and this is going to be, next piece is a little bit of news, and it's going to fit into our Doctor Who Legacy
Tip of the week.
We don't have a tip this week, except for if you haven't already done it, go out and download Doctor Who Legacy 3.0, released on Thursday. So it is there. Has everybody had a chance to play a little bit of it?
A little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit.
I have not purchased the Sonic or the kids areas, but I played the trials.
I did too, because unfortunately the iOS, until I just noticed there's a note out tonight saying that it is now available to purchase, I have been unable to unlock the premium areas of both sites, which I had my money out in my hand going, take my money, take my money. But unfortunately a glitch was keeping me from doing so, but I did too, was able to play the trial versions of each of those.
How far do you get to go in the trial, do you know? I only played a couple levels of each. 4 or 5 levels of the premium Sonic game, and I want to say 6 to 7 levels of the children's area, okay.
Kids area. So
I did get the 11th Doctor costume dropped for me.
The kids
in the trial
version, yeah. The cartoony one.
Yeah, I really like the cartoon design.
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I suppose this just in, recently released now is 3.0.2 for iOS, so it is out there now.
Which I should fire mine up so I can get it downloaded.
So the items that you can collect are in the Sonic Adventures, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So you can
in fact you can get
yes and no
gadgets
in the free version. You can pick up the Doctor Captain Jack's Sonic gun, and you can pick up the second Doctor's Sonic screwdriver, but I think those are the only droppable items for those that haven't purchased the premium, the actual pay levels.
The kids area will
are only costumes.
Are costume? Well, I mean, but they're the kid art versions of companions and different things like that. And apparently will drop, so you can give them to the kids and let them play, and they can collect things for you, because it still goes into the communal pots of everything that you have unlocked. So
I wasn't sure if any gadgets would be coming in the main storyline too.
Yeah. Oh, and the main storyline. I don't know if they're adding gadgets to the main storyline. Nothing has been updated yet in the main story. I think they're holding off for a month to do anything there because they'll be releasing the week by week. I did read in the release that they are still continuing with some more Chapter 2 material, or Chapter 4 material.
Oh, okay.
But I think their focus right now is the 3.0 update with the premiums materials and the release of the week-by-week, episode-by-episode content for Series 9.
And they also up the rank the doctors can go now, right?
They up the rank the Airband go, I believe.
Oh.
That was the impression
Yeah,
that they
up
gave
to
in
6.
the release. Yeah. Yeah, so the doctors can actually go up one level, but the companions can go up to level 60 now, I believe it is. Or is it even higher than that?
Yeah, I think 60, 6 stars. What do you guys think of the new gameplay stuff?
I like
The
it.
cracks
I
and
like
the
the cracks
bombs.
were cool.
I haven't encountered any bombs
The
yet.
bombs are tough. I mean, they're not tough because actually I thought they were going to be more dire than they actually are, because I thought if I didn't clear them out, that was going to wreck my board.
Oh.
It just explodes the gems that are there if you don't get the bomb removed in time, and does then send damage to your team. So your health bar will go down if you get damage from those bombs, but it's not devastating enough that it's a game terminator or anything, which I was grateful for, because there was 1 or 2 times that I didn't get the bomb timed out. It timed out before I was able to clear it. So I like that mechanic. I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think it's going to make things a lot more challenging in some of the levels, and I appreciate that so much. The problem that I'm having, and this is sorely because I haven't updated my device, bought a new device. It is so processor intense that it's very
Mine
sluggish
seems to
on
be
my.
a little bit.
It's very sluggish on my Apple iPad 2, because I have a very old iPad.
I've noticed some lag on my phone, too.
However, I'm hoping to rectify that in a week or two when we get our iPhone 6s, which unfortunately I have 32 time crystals on my iPad that will not transfer when I start moving them over. So
I like the consolidation of the team and the TARDIS stuff now. That's really
I do
nice.
too. It's a lot easier to navigate between, within that one section.
Yeah,
anyway.
the one menu.
I have one complaint about that. Is why was this listed as team? This should have been TARDIS, and then the team should have been in the TARDIS.
Inside the TARDIS, yeah.
I mean, right? But no, I have to click in the team to then go into the TARDIS.
That's a very small thing.
I think because I disagree, because I think these are all team attributes. TARDIS is where they are located. So this is where your characters are located. They're all inside the TARDIS right now. Oh, I got back. And perks are attributed, or an attribute, or attributed. Here's a sluggish too. And perks and lining your teams up are attributes of the
But I would do all that in the console room. I'm not going to go outside.
I disagree. I like the way they do it.
They can shoot at me outside.
It's just a matter of a word.
Yeah.
So
that's all I'm complaining about. I have no complaints. I like the new interface. I think it looks
Well,
good.
and I like the new background that they've added.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Yeah, it is very pretty.
But you organize your teams from that. That's what my point is. You organize your team from there. You don't organize the TARDIS from there.
Anyway.
Did they add gyms?
I was checking. I
didn't go in that far.
Doesn't look like it.
Either.
What is colorblind? Does anybody know what that one is?
You can't see the color? I haven't played with those.
I don't know. I'm
that.
kind of afraid to bother with
The
that.
12th is new, isn't it?
Is it? Because I've been playing with that one.
Oh, okay. Then I just didn't know about it.
There's a Cyberman one, though.
I've been playing with that one. That's what I have set. I'm going to try colorblind real quick.
Okay, you let me know how that works out for you.
Kids area.
Oh, cheaters tactics. No, I'm kind of excited. Of course, I guess if we needed a tip, it's once again make sure you log in, because I went to log in last night because Mel's been on me about make sure you log in, because literally for the last 3 times I've gotten the red and I've gotten the blue and then I've gotten the green, and then I didn't log in time, so I've missed out on my pink and my crystals, and it happened again and it happened again, so 3 in a row. So we went and rushed and hurried to log in after all the movie watching and stuff that was going on, and it was in the process of updating because it was like, 3.0's out. I'm like, no, don't do it now because it's like 258 or something, and I need to click over before, and I missed it. So
It looks like the
But I still can't seem to download the new content. Or unlock the There he is. Maybe I should reset my cache.
Looks like the colorblind just randomly chooses your gems when you load the game. So each color is its own different.
Oh, okay.
theme.
So a different design. So you've got
I
some
don't know if it's
Cybermen.
different every level. But yeah, my blue are snowflakes. The reds are the normal. Blacks are the roundels. And then orange or yellow are Cybermen.
Okay, so then colorblind, that makes sense for somebody who is colorblind and has a difficulty differentiating between colors of gems would be able to look at the different patterns and match up symbols.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what it is then.
That's cool.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Good
Dr.
job,
Legacy.
Legacy. But, so yeah, it's out and available and ready to play. So.
And we can expect more new fan area levels, new expert levels, new challenge levels, more expansions, new Titan levels, big finish levels. And the next installment of Bigger on the Inside is still coming, along with Season 9 content. So, Who Legacy does not stop with 3.0.
Yay.
And that's your Doctor Who Legacy.
Tip of the week.
Moving on. No feedback this week.
Review.
That's
So
too
we will
bad. I
start
had a
reviewing.
song all set and ready to go. There was no feedback.
We're, as mentioned last week, we are going to start.
Don't feel guilty.
We are going to do the comic every week, and we decided to start this week with the comic.
Wait, we're what?
Starting with the comic.
Did we agree to do
Issue
that?
2.
We did.
Glenn, did you know about this?
I did. In fact, I think I decided. Keith posed a question. I made the executive decision.
It was decided. What do you guys think of issue 2?
Yay.
There's a lot of great banter in it.
There's a lot.
There's
of
that's what I liked about it. Is there's a lot of funny. There's a lot of banter. I story wise, I still feel like it's not going anywhere, and I understand that it's a 5-issue arc, but
a slow
I really
burn.
wanted more action and wanted more to happen. And I understand. I mean, the Reaper's chase is really, really good, and makes it even funnier because of the fact that we're on top of. They're on top of the 11th Doctor, who's having the outer monologue as he goes, which is very 11th Doctor, and kudos to Paul Cornell for the writing on this because it's compelling and interesting. I do like that I was a little skittish, as Sean knew when I flipped open the first page here with the Gabby illustrations that she's been wont to do in some of the past issues that we've had, but I love the fact that she had imagined the Doctor with the same face, but with very different age styles. And in fact, the first one looks like the first one actually looks like Cushing. It looks like Peter Cushing.
I can see that.
In fact, there's a reference to it later.
Oh, okay.
I think it validates it because there's a reference to it. The one from the other dimension. I can't remember how it's stated. I thought it was on that page there, down there at the bottom. In the bubbles?
What? Oh, this one, yes.
The original universe.
Original universe.
See, he looks more like Cushing here. Here, I think he looks like Dick Van Dyke.
Well, a
there
little
he definitely
bit,
looks like Cushing.
But when he even makes the mention of original universe, which is funny.
Good on you, Paul Cornell.
He just keeps the Doctor's voices so distinct and separate. It's just impressive to me.
Even when they're talking in tandem.
Oh, yeah.
The tone shifts from one bubble to the other. And
It's one thing to write a TV or an audio story where you have the actors putting their individual stamps on it, but to put it in print form and get the characterizations right.
Well, and it's funny because until I read the opening panel where Gabby was spelling it out, and then in some cases quite literally drawing it out, I realized that that's kind of how I've always envisioned, not necessarily versions of the same person, just with slightly different visages, but I think that's kind of secretly how I always wanted a multi-Doctor story to go. is that they're going to team up and it's going to be awesome, and that the Five
sit around
Doctors
and
was kind of a an anomaly, and because they're really going to be the best of friends because they're all you, and it should work that way. And they're not. They're always bickering. They're always arguing with each other, and that has come to become part of the fun of a
even as far back as
story.
the Three Doctors. I mean,
Yeah.
you had 2 and 3 who just would not get along.
Yeah.
And it was always the voice of reason of one coming from him being trapped in the little time bubble thing that would have to straighten them out and kind of chide them a bit as children and say, hey, straighten up.
I love how once
Got a
they
job
finally
to do.
get into the TARDIS and they're in up 12s, and Tim declares, "The Master's TARDIS. I should have known he'd been." Hey pal, this is mine.
This is mine.
And then of course 10, when we get to 11s, gets the "I don't like it" line.
You've redecorated. I don't like it.
That's from the guy who just
It's from the guy who
kept the previous
kept the
version.
previous.
So much great dialogue. And there's some of it that felt almost, had this been a TV story, would have felt like Capaldi was almost breaking the fourth wall and talking as a person.
Yeah.
About how
there's
a
bit
bit
meta.
more running down corridors. To be honest, I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah. It was a bit meta.
Yeah.
I love how we even get because they're in Paris, if you'll pardon my French, allons-y, as they run into the TARDIS. And then
Go to the next
it
page
the next
because then
page?
it's on the gangway there where he talks, just before the gangway where he talks about
and
it actually translates.
Capaldi says, "Now let's go." Or you could leave that untranslated if you want to show how much in control of the translation matrix you are. Yeah, so much win there.
It's fun.
But unfortunately, I agree with you. There's been a great deal of running about and some fantastic dialogue and a little bit of action, but nothing's really happening. Yeah. Although that,
I think we've now got the setup to get into the meat of the story.
Well, fortunately,
Marinus.
fortunately, by the end of this, when we arrive on Marinus and we're forced into the picture situation.
I also
I'm sorry,
the fact that 11 says, "I think I might actually win a least silly doctor contest." Weirdly, yeah.
that we've got 10 and Gabby and they're working, and we've got 12 and Clara and they're working, and 11 and Alice are having a cup of tea discussing his popularity. No, I'm sorry, Keith. I'm not making fun of your doctor here.
When I read this, Sarah was laying on the couch, was kind of dozing, and I started laughing when it got to that part. And she was like, "What? What are you laughing at?" So I had to explain it to her. And even not having read this, she was like, "Oh yeah, that's really funny because he's the silliest. It's part of why I like him, Sean. He's silly."
Might not actually be the silliest.
But yeah, so we get to the end, and there's nefarious beings at work doing nefarious things, and we force the doctors into the pose with the photo, and then suddenly a big reveal on the very last page with a, ooh, look at that.
Back to the prologue of the first issue, essentially.
Well, Tiny Rebel Games and Doctor Who Legacy, if you're listening, I still cannot get in. I've even refreshed my cache and re-downloaded everything, and I still cannot get content unlocked.
Odd.
We'll have to work with it later.
We'll talk to support. So,
I'm looking forward to see where the story goes.
what do you think of this reveal?
I think the Vord looks incredible.
Yeah.
Man,
What a cool way to re-envision them.
The ultimate conquest of the Vord. And I once again am struck with how awesome Doctor Who comics in general are. When we go back to last year's multi-Doctor story with IDW, and the fact that the first Doctor they brought back the Zarbi,
Yeah, the Zarbi.
and we went, what? Because this is not a villain you expect to see, and then all of a sudden here they are, and we've had Quark show up, and we've had all these great things from the past. And
Well, the beautiful thing is you
can't do as well
you
on
can
TV
realize them in comic form because
Yeah.
it's all up to the artist's interpretation, and you can borrow from the design of the original series, but you can improve upon it within
More
the
so than
story
you ever could on
yeah,
television.
exactly, and actually make them look like giant ants rather than people walking with giant ants on their backs.
Part of me, and I hope that it gets explored and resolved, of the fact that the doctors don't recognize the name Marinus.
Yeah.
My left brain of the doctor should remember everything, is screaming out that he isn't recognizing it. But I'm letting it slide because issue
Well, they
2,
they have a vague recollection.
Yeah.
Now,
So the fact that there's vague and at 12, I could totally see not remembering it because he didn't remember the Clockwork Droids. So the fact that he would forget something from his past incarnations, I can buy. 11 and 10, or 11.
You're just saying because there's precedent for it.
Yeah.
It's also
In
a
the
matter of,
comics,
too. I mean, I think we're kind of we get used to our doctor knowing everything about everything when he lands on a planet, steps out and says, "Well, this is blah blah blah, and these is the people of the such and such, and we're going to have this adventure because that's what they do here." And so we get so used to him reciting chapter and verse and stuff like that.
And it's almost odd when it's something we're familiar with from his past, and he doesn't remember.
And he doesn't remember it. But then even Matt Smith and when he gets the first grade intelligence card, and he's GI, and it's like, nope.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
Well, even when fans are being served with fan service, there's always those name drops, and the fans go, you know about that, but
Right.
it has nothing to do with the story. It's
Yeah.
just it's a name drop. So
maybe it's one of those things that it's just he is.
I think clearly
25.
whatever's
I think
happening
really it's
here
part of the
is a
story.
reason
And
why
the
they
fact
cannot
that
remember.
it's whatever's happening based on the prologue of the first issue with
Yes.
the War Doctor.
Right, I suspect
helps
it's a time
build-
lock, something or another.
And the fact that they blocked so much of the War Doctors from their memory leads to believe that
It's
that's
not like
why.
Obi-Wan claiming never not to remember owning any droids.
Yes.
Oh, of course, because he didn't own them. Oh.
Okay, I won't say it.
You were going to state everything that fandom says about that scene.
Yep. He never owned a droid.
It's only justifiable because Lucas
it.
didn't have
Borrowed a few, but he never owned a droid.
Lucas didn't have the details of the prequels.
I think it's far more likely that Obi-Wan's simply playing his cards close to his vest again.
I
and
think you can rationalize
probably lying to Luke again because he's awesome.
it. That's how we rationalize it.
Again. Oh, that's a cool cover.
Yeah, great. More Abby drawings.
Abby drawings on the cover. Little doodles. So yes, Titan Comics, please keep up the good work because I'm thoroughly enjoying this. And
More Big Finish advertisement on
more
the
Big
back.
Finish bag advertisement on the back. And I love the color. It's really
Yeah.
I like the color, but I don't know if I like the art as much in this one. I'm pretty sure it's the same artist, so I'm not sure what the difference is.
This was
for
Neil
me.
Air would have done the first one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Just some of the stuff doesn't quite look as good, in my opinion. I don't know why.
I think his backgrounds,
His background's
the TARDIS, the control room,
Yeah.
the streets of
Everything's
Paris.
very clean and crisp.
It's
Everything
the
is
faces
fantastic.
sometimes that are just not as.
The facial expressions are a little
And he
bit
did
not
such a good
quite.
job in the first one, I thought, aside from that one Clara Gabby panel.
You kept getting confused between Claire and Gabby.
Yeah. Other than that, I thought the faces were great. And this one, I'm just not as impressed by him.
I did
Maybe I'm
not-
just getting more used to his style.
I did not notice the difference.
I'm probably wrong. There probably isn't.
There may be. I don't know. I just didn't notice. All right. Well, shall we move on to our audio reviews?
Medicinal purposes.
I'll let you take over now. back to your own duties. I'm not going to read the synopses from you.
Edinburgh, 1827. Body snatchers William Burke and William Hare are on the loose while the Sixth Doctor and Evelyn take an interest in the work of Dr. Robert Knox.
Ooh, that is a short one.
Meh.
Dun, dun, dun.
It was
It was
enjoyable.
an interesting story.
Yeah.
It wasn't great by any means, but it was interesting.
It's one that
I was really excited by it at first, and the fact that it might be just a pure historical with something going on with Burke and Hare, and then then they added in the science stuff. And I was like, oh, it's kind of a missed opportunity. I thought that it could have been just a great historical story. How they would have stretched it for 4 parts in 2 hours, I don't know.
Now, is that what you meant when you were talking about the left turn it took before I had started listening
the twist,
to it?
Yeah,
okay.
the big reveal.
Because I was trying to figure out what that was, but I suppose that
it was when when his house disappeared as like a TARDIS. I was like, oh, he's a Time Lord. And he ended up not being because I hadn't gotten that far in it. But by the time I mentioned that, we were led to believe he was.
Yeah. Okay. I thought the left turn might have been... what did I think at the time? I listened to this last week, so it's not as fresh in my memory. I think I thought the left turn was when the other guy, nobody acted like they didn't know the other guy.
Didn't remember Burke.
Burke, yes, thank you. And then suddenly everybody does, which I thought was strange. Although that's explained, but at the time I thought, well, this is weird. It's not like they were being subversive about it, but it was like it just was.
I almost thought something was wrong with my audio because it was so familiar to the beginning and just slightly different.
Yeah,
and then I was like, wait, is this right? Is there something wrong here?
Yeah. It was different. It takes quite a change there.
I found this one rather enjoyable, and mostly because of Jamie. I thought Jamie was such a great character, and so
well, and the actor's
portrayal
was wonderful.
He did such a good job portraying him, and I don't know much about the Burke and Hare story. I know they were body snatchers, and there's that movie on Netflix starring Andy Serkis and Simon Pegg, which I haven't watched yet. Now I want to more.
Does it make me a bad person if I take this moment to admit that when they went into the and the doctor's going all about the Burke and Hare, body snatchers in the night, come on, Evelyn, surely you've got to know this, and I had that sinking feeling of this is something that actually happened and I have no recollection or memory of this.
There was something else that
I probably should bone up because I don't know
recently that mentioned Burke and Hare, but I can't remember what it was, and that's how I was aware of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So everything you know about Burke and Hare still came from Dr.
Pretty much.
Maybe that's where I knew of Burke and Hare from years back because I knew I don't think it was as recent that I learned of it, but it was
maybe it was something I was
something that I watched or read was talking about how they actually uniquely, as the Doctor kind of does, they're actually heralded as an advancement in the medical world because of the fact that they were bringing bodies to doctors so that doctors could advance medicine, and unfortunately it was having to be done nefariously, but they are credited with being a huge leap forward in the advancement of
I really like
internal
that
medicine.
Aspect of this because I never thought of that or had that pointed out to me before.
So in fact, when knowing that, and then the Doctor, I was actually very much on the side of the Doctor when he was almost enamored by meeting these guys and very excited about this. And Evelyn's taking the other side of this, like, well, they're grave robbers.
And killers.
We shouldn't, and killers. We shouldn't praise them. Well, the original, when they got started, they weren't. They were just digging bodies up. But so he was on this side of it's odd for somebody to praise somebody that's doing something nefarious as this. But I was on that same side of thinking, yeah, that's kind of interesting because they are kind of elevated to this weird quasi-status of advancing internal medicine because of what they did for the cause. And, I mean, honestly, there was a couple of guys making some money.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how they were coming about it. But
also
if it hadn't
too,
happened, they probably wouldn't have advanced medicine as quickly as they did.
In my mind, it's also interesting, too, that this is a sixth Doctor who's coming to their defense. Because of all of the Doctors, he tends to be the most secure in his belief of right and wrong, and the quickest to judge in some ways that what you're doing is an abomination. And I could see him very easily coming down on the other side of this. but it's not.
Maybe why it works so well. Too.
And maybe it is. Maybe it's that playing against type. Because if it was Sylvester McCoy, if it was the Seventh Doctor going, oh, no, wait, just a minute, you'd kind of be like, oh, because of his chess player machination, being able to see multiple sides of the story kind of thing.
And it helps kind of soften him as a character.
The
fact that he isn't so staunch in his beliefs of them being evil.
And that's one of the things I found that I really enjoyed is Colin Baker's performance in this is just, I mean, he's always good, but I felt particularly outstanding in this because it suddenly felt like we were being revealed another facet of his Doctor's character, even though it was very subtle and it wasn't necessarily, hitting you over the head with, oh, look how he feels about this, but it was just there because it's not what I expected him. I expected him to be charging into I'm going to put this, we have a chance to shut this down. It's not a fixed point, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, maybe we should let it go. And I went, what?
And he treated them almost like celebrities.
In a way, yeah. He was very thrilled to meet these people and keep up the good work. It's like, what? But I liked that. I really liked that aspect of it.
I think the weakest part of the story is Knox. And while
which is strange because he's actually a recurring character in Big Finish. So we're going to be revisiting Knox eventually as well, which I think is the impression that's left at the end of this is that obviously Knox's story is not over.
And we get a reference to him in the next story too. So
that's right. Yeah, he was that was mentioned in that as well. So
and it was interesting at first, but then he kind of told his story and it was kind of like meh, and then his story wound up kind of somewhat being bogus, and it's just kind of like he was the kind of scenery chewing, mustache twirling villain that I expect more of from Big Finish.
Yeah.
I expect more than that from my villains from Big Finish in this. But there was some great dialogue between the two of them and how he says something to the Doctor and it's almost like he's been waiting for such a villain to kind of give him that master-esque
which is funny because
persona.
I think Knox doesn't even come near as far as because you're right. That's kind of the impression that
he's
Doctor
trying
gives.
to be as,
but he just becomes very
the Doctor plays him off so much of
you know what I mean?
Whatever.
And maybe that's what it is because he
how
doesn't.
Many times have I heard this spiel from so many people?
He's not very menacing. He's not very. It's almost like they're trying to build this air of mystery around Knox. And I don't feel like it quite achieves that, who is this guy? Why does he have a time, why does he have a TARDIS and he's not a Time Lord? But they don't really delve into that enough. And again, maybe that's brought out later when we kind of unravel this character in further stories. But I don't know. I felt like it needed to go a little further to make me more intrigued about Knox rather than just being, this is what you thought, but it's really not. That's just kind of how it was. That's how it was presented.
Yeah, I really...
And then even still, it didn't seem like it wasn't not all. From what I remember of it, because it's been even a little longer for me, his plan was very convoluted for no reason. And he was trying to come up with a cure or whatever to the virus, but then I didn't quite get what he was going to do with it after the fact.
Well, he was working for another species that had contracted him in order to come up with a cure of the virus for their species because they had contracted this. And so he was kind of working I get the impression he was working as an arbiter on one side, and there were probably other people working on viruses as well. And he was trying to be the one that had.
That's what I got from it.
He's the one that was trying to get the. But the problem with that is
the way they portrayed it was they played it like almost. Yes, this is what I'm doing, and I kind of got the impression from the first time they talked, and then later he comes back, and the Doctor's like, "You weren't telling the truth," et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the problem is the Doctor steps in, and it's almost like he just kind of brushes that aside and says, because he says, "What are you going to do now?" Because you're not going to be able to. And he was very unaffected by it. He was very. Well, I'll just, move on and do something. There was no
menace.
There's no dire straits in this for anywhere, except for we've got some sort of time loop going on here because he's utilizing this era in order to continually work on this.
And
the Doctor has to trick him outside by taking Jamie out of the situation. He has to trick him outside of the loop in order to open that back up, which is mildly clever, but it's also almost on such a simplistic basis that it's like that it doesn't add any weight or gravitas to the story.
And I guess the big twist of he's doing that, finding the cure, but then also getting these rich people to get the Burke and Hare experience at the same time in this loop of this audience. So it's kind of like, really? That's the other.
Right.
That's the other shoe.
That's right.
Really?
That was the other side of this. Is it's all a performance for some other observers, which I thought was odd as well.
And it's like, why even do this?
Which makes sense why he's brushing off the whole. Well, you know, I've got these clients, but I've also got these clients over here. It just made it.
So let me get this straight.
Doing too much, and neither one was too much of a threat.
Yes,
You're
exactly. That's exactly right.
You're working for these aliens, and you're going to try and cure this disease, and you're making money off of another group of aliens who are basically just watching you work on.
I don't even know if you can say aliens, the observers,
whoever,
because I got the impression it could be anybody.
Yeah,
it could be
anybody.
future Earth. It could be various species of aliens. It's anybody that comes to watch what's happening.
You know, so you're basically charging people to watch you work. This is either the greatest scam in the history of great scams,
or the dumbest,
and I got to that point and went, what? And I did. I backed it up and went, what happened to the kind of cloak and dagger mystery thing that we were doing with the two guys in the body snatching and the Frankenstein story? Because I was enjoying that one, and then this bad guy showed up and he's got a TARDIS, and I thought maybe he's the Master, but he's not, and it's just, where did you go? What happened here?
Yeah,
it felt very left turn off the rails at that point, and it's like, well, it's not that I'm not enjoying it, because I am. It's still good. It's still interesting, but you're really going to have to do something amazing to kind of pull these I feel are two very desperate parts and bring them together. And as you pointed out,
the MacGuffin's clever.
We're just
not the MacGuffin. The resolution's clever.
We're going to give you this resolution, and it is. It's very clever. It's very clever in its simplicity, and it left me going, it wasn't satisfying, though. Yeah. It was clever, but that's really like I said, because you get up to the point where, you know, Daft Jamie shakes his hands. It's like, aha, cool. Did we really need to go through the rest of that to get to that moment?
Exactly. That's what it felt like. It felt like we really went through all of that to get to here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they had this awesome, you know, not vindictive, but this awesome comeuppance.
There
for this character, and the doctor gives it to him. I was like, yeah. But I didn't need the dog and pony show that you trotted out here to go with it.
You don't even get the satisfaction of seeing him suffer from the virus either.
I know.
He just runs off. Yeah. And so it's like...
You assume he goes to die.
Everything works. Obviously he doesn't. I honestly, I mean, again, I think... Thinking about it, I think it's Tennant's performance of Daft Jamie that holds this thing together as far as being very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that the portrayal of this character...
Oh, I didn't realize that was David Tennant.
Oh, yeah. It's so out... Wow. I didn't know it was David Tennant until I was most of the way through it. And then I was like, I was looking at some information because I had gotten confused on a few things and went to a wiki and went, oh, okay. Wouldn't have got that. But yeah. No,
interestingly enough, I thought Tennant was in the next one.
No, it's this.
There were parts of what was the character's name? Andy, the boyfriend of of M. There were moments where he was like, "My M is gone," and blah blah blah.
Oh yeah.
And I went, "Wow, that really sounds like David Tennant." And I had Mel look it up because we listened to it on the car back and forth today, and she's like, "Nope, not him." And I'm like, "Huh." Okay, I had no idea he was Daft Jamie.
Yeah.
Maybe that goes to why I like the character.
Well, that's
so
why I was loving the character.
Oh, he was so well performed and written.
The performance was that's just it. And
because they could have easily tried to play him.
Luckily, what I liked about it is the fact that he is the conclusive piece of the puzzle too, or of the conclusion. He's the way that the Doctor works out a way to fix this situation. And for a character that's really just kind of going through and they're dropping little things as we go, and we know that he's not affected by the time events that are happening because he's remembering things that other people can't, and it's because of his faculties and all of these little things. So you know that he's a key player here, but then to pull that through to the end and he be the reason or the fix to the situation That's what is clever about the story. And I think that's weaved really well. It's written really well. And then, like you said, the performance is just top notch.
And they could have tried to take that character and made him just for laughs, but they gave the character so much heart.
That's dangerous, though, with that type of character.
Yeah.
With somebody with a
but they
melody
gave him
or
so much depth and so much heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by making him through that line. And then the fact that they dropped him off and then had that kind of somber end to the story with the Doctor and Evelyn and the TARDIS was a nice way to end that.
So my first thought when he showed up as a character, I was a little surprised. It was like, wow, that's honestly kind of daring for Big Finish to do that. Not from the standpoint that it wasn't time appropriate, but just that
it's daring that it's a very sensitive subject.
Exactly. And it's daring that you would choose to do that. And then I became very interested, and it's like, okay, so how are you going to do this? Because you have to toe that line of he can't be a stereotypical person with disability for this time period even, because then it would be offensive. Right. So how are you going to work this? So
how are you going to tiptoe that?
Yeah, they did it marvelously. I'm flabbergasted that was David Tennant. I mean, I know he's done Big Finish, obviously. We heard him in Colditz, and I knew he'd done a couple others. I had no idea that was him.
Gary Russell points out...
I don't think I'm going to seek him out. I think I'm just going to be surprised every time he shows up now and be like, oh my God, there's David Tennant.
Gary Russell points out this is one of the longest scripts I've ever seen, and we did record a lot of it. I remember sitting with Davey Darlington and him telling me that the episode was about 90 minutes long. We had to cut out whole storylines and great swaths of dialogue had to go. It is possible that I may have compromised Robert Ross's story by having to cut so much out, which maybe that's where it suffers from becoming...
That could be. Maybe he had to cut a lot of...
the things that made it even a little more compelling or mysterious or whatnot. The other interesting note from the book is, which I did bring this week, Doctor Who.
Which book is it, Glenn?
It is the Big Finish Companion, Volume 1.
Written by?
Richard Dinnick.
And congrats go out to Richard Dinnick, who is now working at NBC Universal.
That's right, I saw that.
Friend of the show, Richard Dinnick, I can say that. As opposed to nemesis of the show, Eric Roberts.
Gary also recalls that during the recording of the play, Christopher Eccleston had been cast as the Doctor. And he says, quote, I remember a discussion about the casting with myself, Colin, Robert Ross, and David Tennant. So Tennant was working in Doctor Who when he learned of Eccleston being cast.
Interesting. I think my biggest...
Do you think it was a great discussion of them all sitting around the microphone going, wow, he's going to be crap. Who is this Eccleston guy? Wasn't he in G.I. Joe? I mean, come on. I'm teasing.
He was that skinny dude from 28 Days Later, right?
Didn't he just play a villain in that Nicolas Cage movie?
You guys have anything else on this story? I think my biggest thing is on the whole Knox thing. Going back to that very briefly, they had set it up so brilliantly. I had convinced myself because I didn't think it was the Master.
That was the easy choice to go to.
But. And I didn't think they would do that because it didn't sound like one of the actors I knew who had played the Master. So my brain next went to Ronnie, no, because I knew they hadn't done it. I went to the meddling monk, and I thought would be an awesome meddling. And I convinced myself it was the meddling monk, and then we got the revelation that it's not, and then he's not even a Time Lord. It's like, oh man, and that could be part of why Knox's story falls down for me, is because I had set myself up with this brilliant idea, and it didn't.
It felt very much like a meddling monk.
Oh yeah,
this is something he'd do
totally.
And then in a way,
and he would even be the one selling the experience.
It makes more sense that way.
Experience totally
for him to be. I've set it up in a time loop, and I'm making money off of it. It's like, oh, you evil person, you. But then it didn't quite go that way, and I think I totally agree with you. Where it fell down for me was, if we're going to have Knox, and you're going to give me this kind of intriguing setup for him, let's forgo everything else and give me the backstory to this guy. Let's tell that story,
or leave it a mystery instead of giving me these lame plots,
or leave it a mystery. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
You've got to do one or the other with it, and I just felt like they maybe tried to do a little too much of both as the story progressed. And as you pointed out, Glenn, maybe that's just way too much editing that wound up in
Maybe
there.
it's very possible.
Maybe it suffered from cutting room floor.
I wonder if there's something in the Big Finish pantheon that maybe they will start pulling a BBC Worldwide and we'll go back and we'll get special edition releases, director's cuts,
or writer's cut,
of some of these audios that might go back and paint in some of these holes a little bit. I don't know, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm gonna kind of fall back on this one's okay. But I'm hoping that we can retroactively fix it with some of the further upcoming Knox stories that come down the pipeline. That maybe we can come back and revisit this one later.
Because he really is the only weak part of it. Because I love the idea of the Doctor exploring Birken Air. So,
and for the next one,
peer pressure. In 1936 Brighton, strange lights and terrible sounds are coming from beneath the pier. The dead are unusually ambulatory. The only hope is the Doctor in England and Max Miller.
Done. And then it kind of fell off for me.
you sort of got the same impression. I was really excited about this, and I just felt like it was going to be a wonderful story, and then it just became meddling again. It was like
the first episode.
Did you guys know who Max Miller was going into this?
I know somebody else that when they finally went, oh, you're that Max Miller, and I went, oh, well, this is somebody else I should probably know.
I did not know.
He reminded me of W.C. Fields, and I wondered if that was.
Well, I wonder if he's like a British equivalent, maybe. I don't know.
I bet Keith knows. Did you embed him?
I am Wikipediaing him now. He was the cheeky chappie and a British comedian who is widely regarded as the greatest stand-up comedian of his generation.
In Britain.
At the very least in Brighton.
He was born in 1894, so I mean, it's not like we had television.
Well, I guess he was in his 40s by the time this story, because this took place in the
greatest comedian of his. What's the word of his generation?
Generation.
So for that generation, yeah, the first episode of this was so good. If you had done nothing but given me Evelyn and the Doctor and back and forth in the TARDIS and then landing and going to the pub and meeting up with Miller and having a couple of pints, and that was it, I'd have been over the moon for this story. The characterization, the dialogue, the interplay, the acting, everything was phenomenal. And then, unfortunately, we got something at the end of the pier plot that kind of came into being, and I just was like, okay, cool, we're going to go Scooby-Doo the mystery. All right, this will be fun. And it wasn't.
Yep.
Nothing happened.
Yep, nothing happens. And the resolution of this is almost just... There's no reason for anybody else to be there. The Doctor sort of takes care of the situation benignly.
Well,
it's just...
And Billy runs off really early on.
Exactly.
Billy. Not Andy, Billy.
Billy. Well,
Albert was...
Or Albert.
Albert's the one you thought it was.
Yeah, Albert.
All right. So let's step aside real quick, because this was far more interesting than this story. The story features Billy, who, by the way, does not have a last name in the story. Okay? The story features Billy, a young actor who had starred in films called While Parents Sleep and I'm an Explosive. There were actual films by this title made in the 1930s, both of which starred a young actor called Billy Hartnell. This actor was playing a young William Hartnell in this story, starring in actual films of those names.
Billy's in the first part, isn't he?
Yep. It goes on to say...
He goes on holiday.
It goes on to say, after Tom Baker's appearance in comic TV action, this is the second time that the real-life Doctor actor has appeared as himself in a Doctor Who storyline. It would happen a third time with Matt Smith's appearance in the comic The Girl Who Loved Doctor Who. So, a little bit of meta going on there. I thought that was
genius.
See, now,
what happened?
Like David Tennant being... Daft Jamie in the one story elevated that one. I've suddenly got just that much more appreciation for this story.
At least the first part.
At least the first part.
Unfortunately, I think I don't know that I mentioned. I can't go to the book for this one because this only goes to 75, and I believe this was episode 78.
78, yeah. No witty insider information from Richard Dinnick on this one.
Afraid not.
At least not yet. But Christmas is
But
coming.
thanks to TARDIS Wikia for that bit of nugget. So.
You know...
There's some really great stuff in that first part.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact that
Setup is wonderful.
they think
Setup
that-
is wonderful.
The comments about Six's costume or coat of how they think he's in fancy dress based off of one of the characters Maxie plays.
Yeah.
Everything about, like I said, we started with the TARDIS and you're brooding. No, I'm not. I just wish I could have a good sulk and stay, you know, and it's like, what is wrong? All of that is phenomenal. And it's just, it's so good.
It's so nice having that right on the heels of medicinal purposes.
Yes,
It kind of
yes.
gives more weight to the sacrifice, quote unquote.
It's
of
nice to kind of
Jamie.
have that through
Agreed.
line a little bit, that we've got that. And then, you know, the introduction of Maxie. And he's great. He's brilliant. He's funny. He's got all this fantastic stuff. And I was worried initially when he first showed up, and I went, "Oh, you're going to be that character."
Yeah, a little bit scenery chewing, a little bit too
I
over the top.
was worried he was going to be too over the
Yeah.
top, as we've seen in by some guest actors on. Well,
You know who I thought he
Colin
was?
Baker and Sylvester McCoy episodes. Actually.
Sure.
I thought he was Bernard Cribbins. I thought the actor who played him was
Oh, he
Bernard
very
Cribbins.
sounds very
sounded
similar.
a lot
yeah.
like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's like, okay, so we've got the thing at the end of the pier. All right, cool. We're going to go do this. What is it? Well, according to the Doctor, it's, and I quote, evil. What? I couldn't take it seriously. I just you have ill-defined your monster at this point, because all I can think of is David Warner in Time Bandits. Mm-hmm. It's the ultimate evil. Oh, that must be bad. It could wipe out the whole planet. Okay, so you're trying to give me something to go, but you know, if you're going to make it a monster, make it a monster and give it teeth and fangs and slime and something. It's like, oh, okay. If you're going to make it an idea, I guess you can't get any scarier than evil, but it just seems so ill-defined that I couldn't get excited by it. And then the character who's being evil, this Talbot guy, is like
Laughable. Very laughable. No, absolutely.
Especially when he's switching between the
I know.
To take that a step further, if you're going to go there and you're going to make it this intangible evil and make it, you know, mythic and just bad, but then it's almost like then they tried to define it. Then they go
They
along.
undercut the idea.
They undercut the idea by trying. They don't sufficiently define it, but they undercut the idea by trying to define it. And then it's like, you can't have both. You can't. You can't have the gnarly monster and the idea of evil and mesh them together in this way. You can do it, but you can't do it the way they did it.
Well, when the Doctor and Evelyn are coming back down the dock, and he's going, just keep walking. I don't want. I was generally kind of like, oh,
this guy's serious.
Okay, there's something creepy going on here. That is, and that was the biggest level of concern that I got from it, because at no point in time after that did I feel like the Doctor really exhibited any kind of genuine care or concern for how evil, even though he told everybody this is how evil it is, but he didn't act that way.
Sending Evelyn back to the TARDIS with Maxie.
Well, even if he had
It's like,
insinuated that the reason he wasn't coming across that way was because he was being very cautious about it and making sure that he didn't portray the fact that he was so afraid or concerned, but he doesn't convey that. Had he even slightly conveyed that he was putting on airs in order to continue to trick it as he did, walking away from it, I could have bought it a little more, but you're right. He's very uncaring and unconcerned.
Well, and then
or he's concerned, but it's very minimal.
It cheapens the sacrifices and the deaths that come later.
Right.
When
Especially
it's
of
like,
what's her
Albert,
name?
you and M stay here.
Yeah.
Well, and then Albert wouldn't stay.
Go home.
Which, and then you're yelling at Albert going, you dummy!
You're the reason she's
Stay! If you would have stayed, she wouldn't have died.
It just, and throughout this whole up and down, that they kept trying to make it more, look at this. It's scary, it's evil, it's this. And then we get more Talbot, and he's like, oh,
and then his sudden turn at the very end.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, I don't buy it. And
well, and that
It's not. They don't sell it very well.
No, they don't sell it well at all. It's like, okay, so are you trying to be clever, or are you kind of more of this, you really don't know how you want the story to go, which is what it felt like. And we're just kind of middling here, waiting for things to wrap up. And then we would go back to the TARDIS with Evelyn and Maxie, and I'd spy this, and you're making up words. What's a sonic screwdriver?
That was a nice.
It doesn't even exist anymore.
Which I like the moments between Maxie and Evelyn.
I did,
and I
great.
continue to enjoy the portrayal of Maxie. I enjoyed unfortunately, the character really doesn't feel like it goes anywhere or becomes relevant at any point.
Yeah, he's just along for the ride the entire time. There's no need for him to be there like Jamie.
The performance
other than the joke.
Right,
when he's
which it's
distracting him so the
you
Dr.
kept him
Prophet is
around for this,
yeah.
But the performance is still genuinely fun. I really thought the man really portrayed the character very, very well.
Well,
consistent. It was
he says, "Doctor, how many fingers am I holding up?" And Evelyn goes, "Don't be crass."
Well, she's enjoying it too.
I
she's
did
offended and having a ball.
I did a double take in my head and went, "What is he?" Oh, I don't understand how you can have these kind of highs with this kind of meh.
Yeah,
It's just,
agreed.
It's so frustrating because somewhere in here there was a really good thing, but and then I don't think that, so we've got unidentified, we've got evil and mild-mannered Talbot, and we've got a monster that roars and glows green and has force fields, but it's apparently just evil. And then...
And globs of whatever.
Yeah. And then, so we get the reveal, if you will, at the end, that it's a whole race. It's not just one alien. It's a whole race of aliens that sunk to the bottom of this thing, and they're all there. And it's like...
That's the...
Okay.
And they're just trying to get out. What?
But,
that's when it gets undercut, because then it's like, now we've tried to define it, and it's like, well, this is the best you came up with?
Because I was fighting it, going, you're going to have to do better than just give me the supernatural evil.
Well,
you got to give me something. You know how
yes,
we talked about
though.
it.
When they define it this way, though, then it's like...
But then they came up with that and was like, I liked it better as a supernatural
I
evil.
did too. I was the same way.
And I would have been upset over that. But
science aspect to it, just not
give me some
science
and keep it ambiguous, but don't really science it so much that it's like, what?
And then the Doctor doesn't, well, I could go save these people. I could go help these people. I could go, hey, let me take you off this planet and go put you somewhere that you can, or let's go home. Let's take the fight to them. Let's go and, no, I'm just going to kill all of you here and, we're going to weld you to the pier. And what happens then? I don't know, 70 years from now it'll collapse. And then what?
Then they'll be free. We don't know.
I don't know. We'll come back.
No, we'll find out.
It felt like another setup to a possible story down the road.
I sure hope not.
But it's not good enough of a story to...
I can't say that will be true because I don't have anything further. But I got to buy volume 2, I guess.
You understand, Doctor, that when you do something like, you mix up your sums with the Hand of Omega or the Lady Fancy Pants. What was it that was...
Silver Nemesis.
With the comet actually coming back.
Yes.
But you gave us 700 years, 500 years, 400 years. What a 400-year mistake.
Give us some time, to
I could deal with it.
Work it
400 years, I'll come back and fix
70?
it. 70 years.
Yeah.
I really
it's
don't...
a drop in the hat for the Doctor.
I know.
It's like, you got to come back next week.
I'm going to have to come back tomorrow. And I really don't have the words for what happened. And this is the one we listened to in the car. And Mel was so excited. She was like, I'm going to get to listen to Doctor Who because she hasn't got to hear one in so long. And then we listened to it and it started off and she was there. And then she pulled out the Passion Party stuff and started doing other things while it was on. And then it ended. And she was like, I didn't like it. She's, what was up with that? The thing was just evil? I mean, I admit I wasn't paying all that much attention to it, but it was just evil? I said, yeah, it was just kind of evil. She goes, well, that sucks.
Do you guys want to know?
I like the open. I said, I did too.
Kind of spoiler for what's ahead.
What's ahead?
The Endo do come back with Nox. The two of them are together in the next...
Limelight?
It is... hold on.
Assassins by Limelight, I think, is what Nox is next door.
Assassins in the Limelight.
In the Limelight.
Okay.
So they're going to bring these two middling villains.
So apparently we have a trilogy here, and we'll get the conclusion eventually.
I will refrain from passing judgment in hopes that a further episode with the what were they called? The
Indo.
Too bad we let you tell us that, because it might have been a pleasant surprise when we go, hey, it paid off those stories.
Or we wouldn't have remembered what the Indo were.
Well, probably.
3 years from now, we'd have gone, oh my God, remember those 2 stories that were going to, that's the greatest thing ever.
It's in 30 stories.
But don't go too far. Don't give us too much information.
I'm just saying, episode 1, or
don't keep it.
108.
Were both these written by the same guy?
I just put it away. I don't know. I didn't know. Hold on, let me pull it up.
I'm going to get some music.
Who wrote the first one?
Robert
Ross?
Ross, yeah.
Yep.
So he did write both of them.
Okay. Well,
that makes a lot more sense now. Apparently this is... And he writes the third one. So.
I hope that's not par for the course. You know what I mean?
Well, we've either got something to look forward to or not.
I hope
it'll be interesting either way.
Something to dread.
I hope that it's not one of those things where the producers are coming around and Robert comes back and he says, I've got this idea for a 4th story. And they're like, Robert, you kind of have this middling villain thing. And we indulged you with putting the 2 of them together, but they're still
because
kind of
there were
middling.
some great parts of the other ones.
So unfortunate. I just...
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm going to refrain from passing too much judgment here. But
luckily, the writer, Robert Ross, had some nuggets in there that really... I mean, these could have really came down as stinkers as far as our reviews, but we're being very generous because there are performance elements of them that made them worth it.
And he left things in a way that we expect more to come.
Yeah.
So that helps us from being as harsh on it as it is.
Well,
if it was we killed these dead permanently, then we would have a much harsher
opinion
of this story.
What?
It's for me, it's the voice of the characters. When you get the Doctor and Evelyn, or the Doctor and whoever his companion is, right, I'm much more willing to kind of forego the rest of it, because at least you have a handle on who you're writing for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Even if your plot was kind of at least you had this right, which shows me you can come back with a better plot later.
Speaking of our characters,
but if this is bad,
what these 2 stories do is it really... Evelyn she was through a lot in the death of...
which we get some nice references to.
What was the vampire girl's name? Not Lucy.
Cassie.
Cassie. So between the death of Cassie and then the little fight they had when they went to the planet, they got involved in the whole politics stuff. Yeah. Evelyn's character... she's finally come around to a realization, I believe, because she's been through a lot. I mean, even Doctor of the Pirates. I mean, there was a lot of emotion that she was dealing with, a lot of baggage, a lot of things that she had to kind of come to grips with, a lot of things that she had to put a handle on. And this story, especially starting out with the Doctor talking about, the boredom and not, and seeing the Doctor's perspective in a different way when he's idolizing. The 2 characters, Burke and Hare,
yeah.
And so this does a lot for Evelyn in the sense that we've kind of swung Evelyn into a different direction where she's more of a grounding point in these 2 stories. Mm-hmm. Even though she's kind of just keeping Maxie distracted or something going on, Evelyn's character really kind of changes course and changes a bit of we've gone from the ebb to the flow now. And so Evelyn's a lot more enjoyable in these because we've dealt with these things, and now Evelyn is... I think she's almost grown as a companion. She's a better companion because of what she went through and because of how grounded she is now and understanding of this lifestyle in the TARDIS. And I think that's one thing that I think came across very well in this. It could have been easily Evelyn just went back to the status quo before, and we didn't really deal with any of that stuff. But because of the things that are happening within these stories, you really kind of don't sympathize with her. You're kind of grounded by her yourself by thinking, okay, she understands. She's really in sync with what happens in the Doctor's life, and it works for her now. She's gotten through that, and I liked that aspect of the story. It didn't leave that behind, but it made it relevant. It made it,
exactly.
There was a reason for it. Yeah, so I liked it. I liked that aspect of it as well. So
there was also a great line and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember the exact quote. Again, from part one, when the Doctor meets up with a Maxie, and he's discussing are you from the BBC? Because I can do that. I should be able to come in and, I'm naughty but nice. I can dig that. And the Doctor replies, the BBC tends to trivialize their greatest assets or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And he says, sadly, not even I can overcome that.
Yeah. It was a nice dig.
The meta in that statement was like...
That was a nice dig. I did like that.
So, yeah.
There's nuggets. There's nuggets that just kept it from being a really bad story. And I think we can recognize that and move on from there. Anything else about these two?
I don't know. Does anybody wish that we would have gotten just a straight monster under the pure story without all of the evil, or a straight evil story?
I mean,
without
the
a monster
aspect of it. I think it might have been a little better.
I think the thing is they tried, and I think that was better than the
Creature from the Crypt or something.
Well,
because that's the other thing.
Give us a Creature from the Black.
I think what this was,
which we referenced.
I think while I enjoyed the stories that we had before this with the political intrigue and everything that came before, not Lazarus, Project Twilight,
Forge,
the Forge with the Forge.
Yeah.
These were different from that, and I appreciated that. I appreciated that they did try to be one-offs, even though they don't end up being one-offs. They tried to be one-offs, so I think I was relieved in the sense that it was more of a straightforward story, and there wasn't a lot of this emotion going on. So I actually was kind of relieved for that, because I felt like we got into this really emotional ups and downs between Evelyn and the Sixth Doctor, and this kind of seemed to level that off.
This
a
helped
bit,
balance it.
Yeah. No, but again, all that for me came in the first episode. That it just didn't really.
Yeah.
I mean, the only really redeeming character bits that came out of the rest of this was Evelyn's unshakable faith that the Doctor's going to fix this, and you don't know him the way that I do.
Nice.
He's going to come back, and it's like, okay, that's great.
Yeah, that was what made the relevant. I
wish the Doctor wasn't running around over here sacrificing people because of his blasé-faire attitude with the thing.
He wasn't living up to what the standard she set. Yeah,
and it totally makes sense that the same guy wrote these now, because I fell into so we've got a guy and he's locked in this room and he's talking to this voice. Well, it's a great intelligence story.
I never jumped there.
And then it was like, no, that's too easy.
I got the Great Intelligent-esque. I didn't think it was the Great Intelligent, but I got that same style.
Kind of feel, yeah. And then they even name dropped it later.
Yeah.
Not in but he even says, with your great intelligence that we could go and do this. I was like, nah, you're fooling me now.
Forcing it.
And then all of a sudden we got these, it's a glowing green blobby alien thing. And I went,
the
Rutons!
Yep.
And it wasn't them either. And I just kind of kept going.
Which now, like you said, it makes sense that he wrote these, because it was almost a calculated effort to deceive you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I kind of almost wish he'd have picked one or the other. I think let's rewrite the first one and make it to the meddling monk, and let's rewrite the second one and make it Rutons.
Interestingly enough, the meddling monk was the idea for Knox. In fact, he wanted Tony Butterfield, who is Butterfield's son, that played the meddling monk. They wanted him to voice the meddling monk for this, because Peter Butterfield has passed.
Right.
But Tony, his son, apparently sounds very much like his father. And so they were going to have Tony come in and voice the meddling monk for that story, for medicinal purposes. And it was going to be the meddling monk. And it just got changed in the process to be the Knox character. So it's interesting that you say that, because that was the idea, which has probably planted the idea of that type of character for Knox.
Since he was written in that.
It was written. Now, I think it was a meddling monk story he was working on. It wasn't necessarily the meddling monk in this story, but that meddling monk story evolved into medicinal purposes. Okay. So.
Back to draft. That's what I have to say.
Back to draft.
Let's go back to draft.
Anything else on these two?
I don't think so.
Let's move along and talk about the schedule.
Well, coming up next week on the schedule, we Friday Night Who are going to do the first 3 episodes of Planet of the Spiders.
Yay!
With John Pertwee.
Finally.
Another one that's currently unavailable on DVD, so you may have some difficulty finding it.
Well,
but
it's available. It's just a little higher.
It's just a little higher.
it's just a little higher in price.
Not as
Sean,
high as
Sean says it every week, and I have to correct him. No, it's okay. It's just a little higher in price.
not as high as like the Invasion.
Amazon still has it. Warner Brothers store has it still.
You're fighting against
Deep Discount has
20
it.
some odd years of video retail that says moratorium is bad.
It's on moratorium.
When it's
but
on
not-
moratorium.
It's
moratorium means
ridiculously high price.
no more are being pressed.
Correct.
And anybody who still has it in stock are allowed to sell out their stock.
It's not quite Disney Vault
Right,
unavailable.
right.
But it's
But once
difficult
that
to come
stock,
by.
you should be warned, listener. Once that stock's gone, it's gone.
And then the prices
They're
really
not printing that or pressing that.
jump up.
But it does appear to be on both Dailymotion and Hulu. So and as you pointed out, yes, you can still buy a slightly more expensive copy out there. So
Which
because
is a
it's available.
2-disc set,
It is.
right?
It's I paid $35 for a 2-disc set, so that's right in line with retail
Yeah.
price. So, I mean, Amazon obviously knocks it down usually about 13 to 20% off of retail. But with Amazon selling it at what it would have been in retail, obviously they've pulled that price up because they're limited supply.
Yeah.
So we're going to be because we're breaking it up and doing the first three and then the second three. We'll have a hole in the schedule next week for the show. So we're going to do some more Big Finish to fill that hole.
Yes.
We're going to do the Fifth Doctor and Turlo in number 76 Singularity, which won't be in your book, Glenn. And then we're going to do the Fifth Doctor and Perry and Airmem in number 71. The Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea, which is in your book, so you can bring that again next week.
And I should add that something that I forgot after I listened to, that the Council of Nicaea is actually where they established the canon for the Bible. So that's when they picked the, 66 books of the Bible.
Oh, okay.
That's when they said, this is what's going to be biblical. I think I had talked about how they'd set forth the dogma of the church and the rules.
Yeah.
That was actually Vatican I and Vatican II that they did those. Nicaea was Constantine and the cardinals and the bishops and the Pope sitting down and saying, this is what's going to be in the Bible. So.
Well, nobody called us out on it, so either A,
Yeah.
our listeners didn't know, or B, they're
I just
so
wanted
disgusted
I wanted
with
to
our lack
expound
of
on that.
knowledge that they just went, not even going to
I was mushing all that into one, and that's actually a very poignant point that was establishment of canon.
Do you think the Doctor was on the council?
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Maybe that's why so much of the Bible doesn't make sense, because he's like, you can't tell that story. I was in that one. I got to throw that out. No, you can't tell this one either. Mm-hmm. Throw that out. Just put people confused. No, it'll be all right.
It's a book of belief. It'll be okay.
The Bible was written by Robert. What's his name?
Robert Ross.
I'm sorry. That was a cheap shot. I'm a bad host. Okay, so those two Big Finish next week on the show. And then we're finishing up Planet of the Spiders with parts 4 through 6. And then we will actually review Planet of the Spiders because we've not done that one before. Mm-hmm. So, New Who for us. And we're rapidly approaching New Who. So, yay. Oh, and don't forget also in the show next week we will be doing
Part 3, issue 3
issue
of
3
the Four Doctors.
of the Four Doctors. Forgot about
I will try to remember that.
And then,
that one almost slipped by me this week.
When we did Planet of Spiders, we'll be doing part 4. So those are in there as well.
All right. Well, be sure to obviously support us on Patreon. Our Spreadshirt shop, still getting some designs up there, some new designs. Nothing new this week, but we will have some new items up soon, I promise. And if you're going to buy something from Amazon, if you're looking for Planet of Spiders and you can find it through our store, please do that because we get a little small chunk of that. It helps go towards this podcast as well. You can find us in the various forms of media, Facebook, Twitter, Goodreads,
Google Plus.
Tumblr.
Oh, wait.
Google Plus. We're still on.
We're on Google
still on
Plus.
Google Plus. Nobody uses it anymore, but we're still on it.
I thought Google
We
Plus
have a
was
presence.
being the plug.
It's still there.
Is it still there?
They're slowly killing it. It's on life support right now, but I think they're about to pull the plug. But anyway, you can follow
We should
some
post an
various social
amazing
medias.
Google Plus exclusive.
Get it before it's gone.
Bad host.
Anyway, before Sean has to serve his penance, we should
Somebody ring the bell and yell
close this
shame.
show out if that's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.